Spears are one of those forgotten weapon types. They exist, but I don't really see people use them. The reason is mostly because they are genuinely terrible compared to other weapon types. I don't normally like doing runs like these. Only one weapon type runs are typically easy or cliché, but for some reason, a spear only run has never been done before. They have been well and truly forgotten. So today, we are trying to beat Dark Souls 3 with only spears. Meet Vlad, our resident spear enthusiast. I was told he has a bad habit of impaling things, but I think that will work out in our favor this run. My first real test is against Gundyr, and quite honestly, the damage is not that good for a starting weapon. It doesn't use up too much stamina and attacks with decent speed, but even with all that, I should be doing way more damage. Luckily, you can still parry Gundyr and get that satisfying riposte damage. Even if the spear isn't the best starting weapon, killing Gundyr is still a simple task. To give spears a fair chance, I make sure to pick up the covetous Silver Serpent Ring for the increased soul gain. I do a quick level up and head straight for Lothric Castle, and honestly, nothing much here. There is a dragon though.
In my lands, encountering dragons are a daily occurrence.
Sure, Vlad. Whatever you say. After reaching the bottom of the castle, I encounter Vort, and while the spear isn't that great on its own, like most metals, it seems to conduct lightning very well, and unfortunately for Vort, so does he. When the lightning resin is applied, the damage is pretty good, and Vort gets deleted. Now that we are past Vort, we have quite a lot of options on where to go and what to do. Our first goal is, of course, to improve our damage and gather souls. The next goal is to acquire a different spear, one that hopefully does more damage and actually looks cool. You know, now that we have the time, why did you come to this place anyways, Vlad?
There is a man I must kill. He came to my lands to protect the very dragons that burned our fields and ate our livestock. With him around, many of the people I knew starved, so I came to find him and seek my revenge.
Did you at least know his name?
None was given to me. I know him only by the massive spear he carried with him. When I confront him, I will not only avenge my brethren, but prove that I am the strongest spear wielder there is.
Kinda sounds like this is more about proving yourself than the revenge part. Do you actually like spears, or is it just to kill him with his weapon of choice?
It's more about sending a message.
And what type of message are you trying to send?
The type of message that says, I replaced all of your carpets with Legos.
A dark wraith decides to follow me into the bonfire area. While these are harder than your normal enemy, if you know the trick, you can kill these guys easily.
You were saying...
Shut up, Vlad. I make a quick stop to the boss I skipped over, the curse-rotted Greatwood. And...
Look at that giant tree! We could make so many spears out of it!
Yeah, you could, Vlad. But the real reason we are here, though, is to get our next spear. To do that, we have to kill the curse-rotted Greatwood. Like anything in this world, the boss's weakness is being poked in the balls. Look, if you didn't want to die this way, you should have made other places I can attack. You only have yourself to blame.
Wait, why is the body disappearing? Do all trees do that in your land? How do you even make furniture?
I think that tree is just different. Most trees also don't try to kill you. I finally claim my reward, Arstor's spear.
Huh, I like this Arstor guy. This spear will do just fine.
This spear looks badass. Is this why Vlad loves spears so much? Unfortunately, awesome looks does not always come with awesome damage, or good stamina usage for that matter. The Abyss Watchers is the perfect boss fight to test my new spear, or at least that was what I was hoping for. As we know, the spear does poison damage, which would be a great addition to our physical damage if he wasn't immune to the poison. Otherwise, the fight is pretty normal.
Did he just set himself on fire? What a strange ability.
No, that's actually kind of normal around here. While the second phase is harder, for the most part, you just have to play patiently and impale him with your spear. Repeat that a couple of times, and he goes down without too much issues. Since our damage still sucks, I figured it's about time we get an upgrade. So that means we need to go lizard hunting.
In my land, I've hunted lizards that had wings many time.
Alright, Vlad. I know. We arrive at the locations the crystal lizards are at, and make short work of them, gathering their materials to upgrade our weapon. The next stop is the dancer, which may seem earlier than it should be, but considering most of our upgrade materials are in Aldrich Castle, this is the best choice. The dancer of the Boreal Valley is harder than it normally is. Yes, I know we only have a +2 boss weapon, but that is equivalent to at least a +5 normal weapon. That is to say, my damage is still terrible. However, I'm used to fighting Dancer in much worse conditions. I finally arrive in Aldrich. The knights try to kill me, but they are too slow to catch me. And yes, while I am complaining about my damage, I do understand it's because I need to upgrade my weapon. And suddenly, I see 2 more dragons. Well, we can't leave them alive, otherwise Vlad might get upset. After fighting against the camera and having a very non-cheesy method of killing the dragons, I make sure to pick up the Titanite scales I might have missed. The biggest issue, though, being the Mimic. While he does drop the remaining scales I need, he is really annoying to fight, and quite honestly, whenever I look at this specific Mimic, it creeps me out. Why is he crawling on the floor? And the eating animation. Ugh. I do win against the Mimic, although it was very close. Closer than I would like. Now that we have a +3 weapon, the next boss is Crystal Sage. Finally, that's the type of damage I'm looking for. Currently, we have a mid-game build, and considering Sage is an early game boss, this Sage gets absolutely shredded. This is fun. I make sure to get the ashes that gives me Lloyd's shield ring. This allows me to tank considerably more damage at full health. I do questionable things to Gael, grab another bone shard, and head over to grab Lloyd's sword ring, which just means 10% more damage so long as my health is at full. Overall, a really good ring combination. Thanks, Lloyd. The next fight is Deacons, and it's about what you expect. There's very few things that could actually make Deacons a difficult fight. I make sure to collect the bone shards in the catacombs and stop by to pay Wolnir a visit. If you've watched my previous videos, you know how much pain this guy has put me through recently. But luckily today, you just hit the bracelets, and he dies. Easy fight. Me and Vlad have been planning our next course of action, and we have decided we need to upgrade our weapon and our damage. The easiest way to get more Titanite scales is to crystal lizards into untended graves. So, Osiris must die. Not a week ago, I was told about the cut content on the Osiris boss battle, and honestly completely changes the context. I guess they cut it because they were trying to make a Dark Souls 3 boss and not a Bloodborne boss. Overall, the fight is alright, my damage is decent, and since most of his attacks are predictable, taking him down doesn't take long. After Osiris is defeated, I get access to the other crystal lizards to get a +4 boss weapon. Of course, there's still the minor issue of trying to kill the lizards, since they stick together and hit hard. But if you use some clever positioning and use of plunging attacks, you can kill one of them, and without backup, the other lizard is easy to kill.
I like your tactics. You should join me in my next dragon hunt. It will be glorious!
I make sure to kill the Sullivan Beast, not only so I don't have to deal with him in the swamp area, but also so I can get his ring, which increases damage dealt on successive attacks. Have I ever told you how much I hate running through this place? Something that wants to kill you at every turn, which is normal for Dark Souls, but this place is just somehow worse. Not sure how to explain it, but eventually we find our way to Pontiff. As I confront Pontiff, you may be wondering why I'm not parrying him. I could tell you that I thought it would make him too easy, or that I forgot, but it's more along the lines of, I just enjoy fighting him normally. His attacks are really fun to dodge through, and using a spear creates a few extra openings due to the increased reach. So, spears are actually an ideal weapon to use when fighting against Pontiff. And in second phase, spears can actually pierce through the clone and hit the main body, and the clone at the same time. This doesn't happen that often though, but it's nice when it does. We meet a fellow spear user. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like he is very friendly. So, he has to die. Nothing personal. And he even drops the spears he was using, the dual drang spears. While these spears are admittedly really good, I've done a run with them. I know, we aren't going to be using them.
If they are good, why don't you want to use them? Is this just to sell the narrative that this run is difficult, when you know damn well if you used a different spear, it would only be slightly more difficult than a normal run at best?
Hey, Vlad, for one, I think this spear looks cool, and I don't want to stop using it, and two, could you please stop breaking the fourth wall?
I'd like to see you try and stop me.
Next is Aldrich, devourer of Big Macs. With our current setup, Aldrich poses no threat. Yes, his arrow rain is annoying, but I'd like to see him try and use it when I'm filling him with so many holes you could call him Aldrich Swiss cheese. Well, now that he's dead, it's about time for the part of this run I've been dreading the most, Yhorm. But first, we have to get there. Alva, Seeker of the Spurned, invades me when I try to enter the Irithel dungeon, and fighting her is more difficult than expected with a spear, but when backed into a corner, I still manage to win. Ah, Irithel dungeon. This is definitely the place I hate the most in Dark Souls 3. Fun fact, did you know in a hitless run, being caught in those guys' gazes that increase your health count as being hit? Yeah, I have no idea how they do it. Nothing but respect for hitless runners. As annoying as this place can be, I still know effective routing, and managed to find my way out of there and arrive at the profaned capital. Well, no use delaying it any further. It's time to fight Yhorm. You might be wondering why Yhorm the Giant, a typically easy boss, is now difficult. Well, normally you're supposed to use the gimmick weapon, Storm Ruler, and kill him in under 2 minutes. Of course, we can't do that. But this isn't the first time I've had to kill Yhorm without Storm Ruler. All you have to do is hit his weapon hand. I said his weapon hand. Normally, if you hit his weapon hand enough, he will stagger, and you can do good damage to his head. But when you're using a spear, it just doesn't want to hit his hand, no matter what you seem to do. It seems to be an angling issue, and with practice you can hit it sometimes a little bit more consistently, but it still takes its toll. Yhorm doesn't want to stagger, and so you're going to be resorting to trying to poke his shins to death. And after 13 minutes of combat, he staggers. You're kidding me, right? At least it makes for a cinematic ending. It's time for the Dragon Slayer armor. The fight itself progresses about normal. Dare I say it, the damage is actually average. Unfortunately, since we know we have average damage, it means the Dragon Slayer starts pulling out his ultimate attack. Gravity. If you don't think Dark Souls hates you by the time your first playthrough ends, you clearly didn't experience enough gravity deaths. Don't worry, the Dragon Slayer armor isn't quite done bending space-time to his will to make me suffer what would normally be an easy fight. No, this is not a screenshot, it's just my PC begging for death. Look, recording videos takes up a lot of PC space, okay? In any case, the Dragon Slayer finally stops delaying the end and perishes. As I'm making my way through the Grand Archives, I'd just like to say thanks for watching so far. I'm a small YouTuber, and the time and effort it takes to make just a single video is high. So if you enjoyed so far, please subscribe, like, or leave a comment. What you do matters, and it helps me out so I can make better videos. Now, back to the task at hand. That task being, kill the 3 musketeer-looking guys. But is there really any reason to kill them? They don't drop anything important or useful to the run. Well, on the contrary, they drop the most important thing in the entirety of Dark Souls since it was made. Fashion Souls. Simply kill Albert and you can purchase his armor set from the Shrine Handmaiden. I make sure to grab the Titanite slab, buy my superior fashion, and upgrade my weapon.
I'll admit, that is some peak Fashion Souls. My drip is still better though.
Ah, the Twin Princes. We aren't far away from endgame, you know. Maybe I've been too hard on spears. I've done so many runs that the lines between good and bad weapons have been blurred. And perhaps I forgot the only thing that determines a good weapon or not is how you use it. Perhaps that's why the spear is shining now. It can hit both Lothric and Lorien with good angling, and the damage is nothing to laugh at. The princes fight against me, but it's futile. In my hands, the spear pierces through my foes. And then, only one remains. The Soul of Cinder. The boss that goes against the antithesis of this run. He constantly switches between weapons depending on the situation. But is there really any joy in that? I have stayed with my weapon ever since I carved it out of the tree. And with time, its strength showed itself. How can the Soul of Cinder expect strength from a weapon that doesn't know him? Weak, foolish, predictable. His actions betray him until he finally starts taking this fight seriously. I'm glad you found your weapon, as I found mine. But it's too late. Victory is mine alone. And now, there's only one thing left to do.
Yes. The ashes of the land has revealed his position to me. We must go to the Archdragon Peak.
So the guy who's friends of dragons lives with the dragons. Who would have thought?
Admittedly, I probably should have figured that out long before now, but it won't stop me from impaling him anyways.
Wait, is that a dragon that isn't dying from cancer?
Most dragons typically aren't. I have no idea why the Lothric dragons are like that, but this is normal.
Luckily, like all things in Dark Souls, it's weak to plunging attacks. Unnecessarily weak. Should this even be a boss fight? It's more of a mild annoyance.
I feel his presence. We aren't too far away from him. Soon, I will impale him and avenge my homeland. And then, I shall become the Scourge of Dragons.
I ring the bell, challenging him to a duel. As the sky around me gathers and the storm rages on, I push onwards to help Vlad on his quest. The first phase is nothing difficult. The spear is actually really good on first phase, considering how often the dragon's head moves, you get more attack opportunities, allowing you to finish off the dragon with ease. But someone of that strength doesn't die that easily. He mourns the death of the dragon, and the wrath of the storm descends upon you. But I won't give up. As our spears clash, it's clear that he has more experience than me. I try to kill him, but I panic, and end up getting comboed to death.
There is no shame in dying to a strong foe, Blue. The only shame lies in giving up. But no matter. This is my fight, and mine alone. You did well, Blue. But now, ye who have no name, you shall face my wrath! It is done. Thank you for granting me this fight.
Well, now that we've killed your nemesis, what should we do next?
How about we use his spear and wreak some havoc on the DLC?
That sounds enjoyable. We transposed Dragon Slayer's sword spear, and checking the item description, it seems that he used to be quite a hunter of dragons. A deific hunter of dragons.
You either die a hero, or live long enough to become the villain.
Now that we have a new spear, we need to upgrade it. Since it requires Titanite scales, and those are pretty rare, we need a method to get a lot of them. Luckily, if we pick up the Dragon Slayer's ashes, we can buy one Titanite scale for 20,000 souls. Rather expensive. Luckily, there are a few bosses remaining, so I can get the souls needed. The first is the Old Demon King. Considering we have in-game stuff, my spear absolutely demolishes his health bar, and the man never stood a chance. However, that is of course not enough souls. That's where our good friend Champion Gundyr comes in. The fight is relatively evenly matched. His weapon is cool, but sadly, it's a halberd and not a spear. First phase is over fast, however, when second phase starts, he just doesn't want to stay still. While it does drag out the fight, I still win against Gundyr.
You were an honorable fool.
We only have enough to upgrade the sword spear to +3, but it's good enough. Now it's time to respec and see what we are working with. My goodness, this spear is massive.
Now this is a real spear.
Let's talk about our new spear. The first thing is that it's absolutely massive. The range it has is also great because of its size. It also has the weapon art Falling Bolt. The damage on it is okay, but its main benefit is it applies a lightning buff to your weapon, increasing your damage further. Overall, a really fun weapon to use. And now, it's time for Yhorm, and we can demonstrate the true range of the spear. Yeah, it's surprisingly good. And we eventually make our way to Sister Friede. Despite having a +3 spear, the damage we do is great. Imagine how good we would be doing with a +5. The main benefit of the spear is its insane range. We can actually safely poke Friede in her attacks if we time it right. The attacks also have a delay to it, making it so you can roll catch Friede. Really fun. Second phase is pretty easy. Just attack the big boy while keeping eyes on Friede. And then, third phase, 10 flasks, let's go. The backstab damage of the spear in third phase is good. Combo it with the charged attacks, and you can deal 1,000 damage per backstab opportunity. That is, if you time things correct. And even in second phase, you can still outrange Friede with proper timing. The Dragon Slayer Sword Spear is the perfect anti-Friede weapon. In fact, that's its problem. It's way too perfect. Because of how good it is, I might have gotten a tad overconfident and tried to kill her with style, and I ended up being comboed and killed with style, admittedly.
Overconfidence is a slow and insidious killer.
Yes, I know, Vlad. I did end up learning my lesson, though, and went for a safe but cool backstab to win my fight against Friede. With the souls and Titanite slab from Friede, I was able to take my +3 spear to +5, and get ready to invade the Darkeater. We're finally here. The first thing I do is pick up the Ring of Steel Protection. It provides extra physical defenses, so it'll help. After a quick run past the angels, we already arrive at our next boss. The demon princes are pretty easy with my upgraded spear. My damage against them is great in first phase, and they die pretty quickly. However, the second phase is a different story entirely. It made me realize one of the biggest weaknesses of this spear. When you two-hand it, it attacks pretty slow and uses a ton of stamina. Yes, you do get more damage, but the increased speed of the bosses makes this a bad trade-off. No matter. On my second attempt, I used the one-handed moveset. First phase goes as normal, and second phase grants us an excellent test for the spear. What do you think, Vlad?
I think it would be better if we put it to its intended use of hunting dragons.
Yes, Vlad. Don't worry, we will have plenty of time to kill dragons. Well, demon princes are down. The Ring City. Are you enjoying the scenery, Vlad?
The only scenery I enjoy is one with dead dragons in it.
You would love Lindell then. They have a giant dragon corpse in the middle of town. You should visit there sometimes.
I recognize that dragon. Midir. The dragon consumed by the abyss.
Wait, how do you know him?
I once fought against him. It was a rough battle. His scales were too tough to pierce, but he wasn't able to kill me either, so he ran away. But this time, it will be different. Midir, you coward! I will not let you leave alive today.
You happy now, Vlad?
He is not yet dead. He survived somehow. We must hunt him down.
Next is the Spear of the Church.
Ah, a fellow spear user. This'll be an interesting fight. What? That is no spear. Is the man blind?
That is certainly interesting. I think it's just a title, Vlad. He doesn't actually have to wield a spear.
This is heresy. He brings shame to those who wield spears. His false title will fool me none. We must end him and give the title to one who is worthy.
I guess everyone hates Half-Light.
I will put your head on a stake.
It's time for Gael. Our damage against Gael is alright, but because of how much mobility and range Gael has, any advantages we had with the spear's range are useless. The first phase isn't too difficult. When the second phase arrives is when it gets hard, though. I've never been good at dodging his cape attacks. Gael is one of my favorite bosses in Dark Souls 3, and also the one I'm the worst at, due entirely with not enough practice on my part. It comes down to the wire, but I push my luck and experience the pain that is common to every Souls player. This health bar. You know what I mean. But I get some rest and attempt the fight again. It would be ridiculous to blame the spear for my lack of skill in the fight. In all honesty, the spear is performing better than I expected it to, but by playing patiently and probably getting a little too overconfident, I managed to win. Well, it's time for midir now. Well, gee, thanks, Dark Souls. Didn't know I was playing Dark Souls 2.
I know you possess the skill required to kill this foe, as well as the weapon and means. But would you let me have this battle?
Of course, Vlad. Take it away.
Midir, you may have escaped me once, but by my spear, you will pierce your scales. No mercy will be given, and we will not rest until you have taken your last breath, felled by the might of a true dragon slayer. It is done.
Until next time, don't go hollow.